So do you want to start it off or?
Yeah, sure, why not? Okay then. Hey everybody, how's it going? It's me, Brian, and Noah here, and today we're going to be discussing exactly what happened with our our altercation with Webtoon. So I'm just going to give a little bit of context here. We've been working on this. How long has it been since we published now?
We started.
Okay, we've been work.
Oh, you're saying?
Go ahead.
Yeah, no. We started the whole process back like a year and a half ago, and then ever since this August is when we started. Oh no, back in January is when we started digitizing everything, but we got everything started published with Webtoon in about when it hit August, I believe. So yeah, it's been about like 6 months now, almost 6 months, a little less, since we've been publishing on Webtoon. And
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah. So it's been a fair amount of time now, actually. I mean, yes, granted, we've been working on this comic for like how long now?
about
Like what?
a year and a half, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been an
Oh yeah.
idea in the back of our heads for a while, but for a year and a half, we've been working on it.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, what happened is that we got booted off Webtoon, essentially, and it was done in the most interesting ways I've seen any website do it. Because essentially,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I wasn't exactly because I don't exactly monitor the Webtoon. I kind of just I just help work on it. So I wasn't really exactly the first responder to the news. So you might be able to explain it a little bit better to the audience.
yes.
Exactly what happened.
So essentially, what happened is that when the holidays kicked in, we stopped uploading for a little bit, and I wasn't really on Webtoon as much, so I took maybe a few weeks off from checking on it, and then
Yeah.
when I get back from holiday, I check back, and then I see that the account has been suspended or not suspended. We've been posting, let's see, for about 6 months, and I come back to our channel being essentially bricked due to the mature guidelines. So I needed a parental approval. So they were asking that I needed to contact my parents in order to have my account approved again, which is weird because we've been uploading 18 plus content for the past 6 months. So I was wondering why we needed to get our parents' approval. So I made an alternate email, and then I sent a whole approval thing to get my account approved for whatever reason. And after doing so, I come back to the Webtoon, and everything that we have accomplished was basically wiped off the face of our platform. So we had two comics. One was called Pale Blue, and the other one
That's
was
one way to
called
put it.
The Department of the Feel Good Feelings. And then both of them were essentially wiped out. All the comments were gone. My ability to comment was gone and all that. So the first thing I thought was, well, this has to be some type of mistake or some type of bug. And that's when I decided I wanted to contact, Webtoon, and I basically sent them an email saying that, our account was basically bricked because of the, parental guidance thing or the parental approval situation. That's when I stated that we're well over the age. We've been posting on this website for more than 5 months, and I wanted a reason and a reinstatement within our comic, because our comic did have a little bit of questionable things within it that may or may not be, considered faulty towards the guidelines, but the Webtoon's guidelines are a bit blurry. So I just thought it was weird that we got removed through our account being needed a parental approval. So I basically told them the whole situation, and they said they're going to get back to me in 24 hours. And they sent me an email back, and here's what it said. It goes, "Hi there. We're reaching out today to let you know that our system experienced a bug that resulted in inflated page views by invalid clicks for some of the Canvas series. Page views are inflated between July 20th and December 16th, and your series was affected whenever there were invalid clicks during this time. Please rest assured that any ad revenue sharing applications and earned revenue during July to November will be honored, with no adjustments for corrected page views. From December, your dashboard will show the corrected page views and ad revenue sharing applications and revenues will be based on this number. We sincerely apologize for this error. Please let us know if you have any further questions or would like to know the number of inflated page views. So it was, the whole situation was completely just blown over. They completely just ignored the fact that.
Oh yeah, I don't even think they took a look at it, honestly. Like it probably was even an automated system that didn't even read what we said. It probably just assumed that we were having the same issue that everybody else was having. And you know what? That's probably not even the case either. What probably also could have happened is that like we just quietly got booted off the site because we just were not exactly aligned with what the typical content is on Webtoon, and this might be a little bit more of the controversial stuff to talk about with the issues that we might have with the site, because, well, I don't know. You can go ahead and piggyback off what I'm saying here.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. Because I think it's funny because the email states this whole ad revenue thing, and it's funny because we don't even make money off the.
Yeah, exactly. That's what when you told me that I think I lost brain cells when I heard that.
Yeah, and so we always knew that we had like a little bit of a bit of a controversial take on whatever we put on the Webtoon. It wasn't
yeah.
So like I could probably show some of the art, but I don't think it's too bad to the point where we needed to get booted off or bricked or anything. And there was like a bug or something that happened, and we were just not given the proper the proper reinstatement of our channel, because they essentially just blew it over. I sent them another message and I still haven't heard anything back within the 24-hour period. So it's like I don't know what to do about that. So, but that's kind of interesting because the whole situation pretty much stems from us being bricked off because we were told that we were too young to be posting stuff on the website when we've already made an account for them and have been posting under the explicit warning and cautionary. We put the whole yeah,
exactly. And that's not even the best part. The best part is that Webtoon, I think we can pull this up here in a bit, or we can pull it up right now, but the whole idea of like how Webtoon says that yes, you are allowed to have mature content, but it's like there's a little bit of a fine print to it. Maybe you could explain it a little bit better.
Oh yeah, so essentially the graphic content, they say that you are allowed to put an extent of graphic content within it, but just because you put the explicit content filter on it, which with the explicit content filter, just it notifies that the reader is going to be watching something or reading something a little bit more graphic than your usual typical run-of-the-mill Webtoon. So you're basically giving a fair warning to cover your ass and the website's ass, to make sure that if it's a kid reading it, they know for a fact that it's going to be explicit. So we have that on our comic, and in the guidelines it states that if you have this explicit content warning up, that still doesn't mean you're protected to put violent or not. I wouldn't say violent, or you're not able to put certain gore words or swear words, because there have been Webtoons in the past that have been doing super successful, but they were told to remove certain curse words even though they've had the explicit content warning. And that right there is a full circle of, I think, one of the main issues that happens on Webtoon, and it's also been an issue on YouTube as well. But the whole idea behind that, these lines are a little bit too blurry for the content on Webtoon, to where it basically makes all the content stick together in some sort of way, and you're not really able to create more than just like a romance or a a drama or a very basic horror or thriller. You can't go any exceed that to any extent, and you don't have any idea of how far you could push it. And I just think it's funny how ours got removed based upon us being quote unquote underage without any fair warning of.
Oh yeah, it's like a big like it's probably like the most insulting thing ever. Like,
Yeah, because we were just told, oh, well, you're too young to put up comics, even though we've been putting them up for quite a while now. And they won't reinstate they will not reinstate our comic at the moment. The two comics that were on there, and one was the secondary comic that we were working on had nothing to do with like violence or anything like that. Yeah, sure, it was like a little bit like almost like a very light horror, very little, nothing really explicit at all, but it was
exactly.
the whole our account still exists. It's just that the content was basically bricked and we're shut off from doing any type of socializing. We can't upload anything, we can't do any of that, and that's just because of a bug, either a bug that happened on Webtoon, or someone decided to brick our channel by saying we're too young to making it, and there was nothing that allowed us to make that decision. So I don't know if I missed some type of what do you call it, like a fill in the blanks type of thing during the holiday period, where they came out with this like whole, you need to be over a certain age to make content on here. But I didn't get any type of warning or email indicating that our channel was remotely immature enough to upload. So that's just the idea behind it. I don't know. I've never gotten an email or anything like that saying that our content was explicit or too explicit for Webtoon. I don't know how Webtoon would even spot it, because we didn't really have an excessive amount of like views or anything like that. It was pretty basic. So
oh yeah,
I've never gotten any type of email indicating that, but we just came back after the holiday to our account bricked because we were considered too young to upload, and just everything was wiped. We can't even access our own comic anymore.
Oh
yeah. Which is good thing we backed it up, but that's why I think we should probably, I think that's a good point to make for Webtoon. The whole idea of that these guidelines are so blurry to the point where people are creating like romance series, and they're being put under almost every single genre. So it'd be like a romance, but it's reskinned as like an action, or reskinned as a fantasy. And it's like, you have those genres that line up with, they may have like a little bit of action of it, but their primary focus is romance. And you'll see that through pretty much almost every leading genre or leading story within the genres on Webtoon.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's like, and that's not a bad thing, right? It's like they can do whatever they want with their site. I just think that the frustrating part is that like they advertise themselves as a multi-purpose genre site, which is a little bit frustrating, especially like creators. And it's not just us. Like, I know we're not the only outliers. I know that there's plenty of people who go on Webtoon who get their stuff kicked off too because it's too violent or whatever. And like that's like really like demoralizing to put all this work and effort, and just because your stuff doesn't align with the meta, you're going to be booted off the site. That's a little bit ridiculous.
Oh yeah, and to give a quick example, I'm not trying to out anyone or anything like that, but there's this, I have to go look up the name. I think it's Manga Tengu or something, the name of the channel. They've created a comic called Waste, and it's such a good comic. It's beautiful. You go check it out. But pretty much everything leading, that person made such a beautiful comic, and had, it did have some explicit content. I'd consider explicit, with like blood, a little bit of
we'll make sure
gore.
To put it in the description. Yeah,
exactly. A little bit of blood, a little bit of gore, maybe some curse words here and there. And they were doing very well, and then Webtoon told them that they had to remove their comic or censor their comic, and they didn't give them the proper means to censor it, so they had to completely just halt the production within that comic, and that basically got them off the site, which is why I think the guidelines are so blurry to the point where people are just making copy paste content, and it's not allowing people to make the content that they want. And I don't think that's good for any platform, for them to be having this regurgitatory, guidelines that only allow you to make certain very tight types of genres for the platform. Because if anyone were to go on Webtoon and say, I want to make the most popular comic, they would look at it and go immediately, well, Webtoon's not going to boot off these highly sexual tension web comics off the platform, so I might as well just make one of those, even though it does somewhat go over the guidelines somewhat, because you can never really tell with how blurry they are. But they prosper, they thrive, and the majority of the stories on there are going to be within that genre, mixed in with a little bit of action, and it'll land you on the action page. And I'm speaking more on the side of Canvas, and that's the creator side of things. The YouTube original series, there are a lot more, I'd say, variety, because they're handpicked by Webtoon and paid by Webtoon themselves. But when it comes to Canvas, where the most majority of the stories take place on Webtoon, you're going to start seeing a lot more, or you are going to see a ton of those very pinched genres being, selected and kind of narrowed down, and not really allowing much creation to be had.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I think what we're trying to say from this experience is like, maybe we're trying to let other people know, or warn other creators who maybe fall under the same thing that we fall under, right? Creating stories that maybe a little bit more adult in nature, maybe have because I know ours had definitely quite a bit of gore in it, and guns and all that sort of jazz. So I think what we're trying to get at is maybe trying to warn people in a sense not to go on Webtoon.
That's the thing. I think Webtoon is a really good place for your comic to be recognized, and it's like the YouTube of comics, right? You're gonna go on Webtoon to become recognized by a greater audience, because it's like the most popular comic website out there. So I'm not gonna shoot it down for that. But the one thing that I will say is that expect your content to be very narrowed, and very very narrow in what you can, and your options, what you can choose, because you don't want to dedicate all this time to making a Webtoon and then realize down the line, like the One Waste comic, it gets booted off the site, or the guidelines become so overly bearing to where you can't even publish anything, or you don't feel comfortable publishing your story, because when you're creating a comic or any type of story, you're having this mindset of what you want the story to be, and if you can't 100% artistically embrace that, you're not going to want to create the story anymore. And I think it's pretty ironic, because that same creator I'm talking about, they let out a message saying that they got picked up by Webtoon as an original series, but it's only going to be a romance series, not any type of action or anything like that. There may be action in it, but it's primarily a romance, which I think is very ironic, considering the type of, I think that's just the type of platform Webtoon wants to be. They want to stay 100% safe in whatever they're doing, and they don't want to embrace any action.
But that's what but that's what I'm trying to get at. It's does that really make it a good platform to go on then?
For the sake of creating, I would say if you're for sure not going to make a romance or anything like that, then probably not. But
that's and that's the point I'm trying to get. I'm trying to get at the point that I don't think it's a good enough platform meant for a more general range of creators. And I know that might be a little controversial to say, and a lot of people are probably going to hate me on that, because there's a lot of people who are fans of Webtoon, but I don't know, I just don't see it as a very good
it's a gamble.
Multi-purpose
it's a gamble. I think what you're trying to say, it's kind of a gamble, right?
Oh, it's definitely a gamble.
Because whenever you upload something on Webtoon, you're never going to know if it's going to get taken off or not, unless it's just some super safe PC 100%. Like, you take any of your favorite traditional, comic out there, and you try to put that on Webtoon, it's a 50-50 chance it'd get taken off. I mean, you could go look at several stories out there, and a lot of them contain like a little bit of blood here and there, or curse words here and there. On Webtoon, they say, yeah, you may be able to put those on, but even if you put an explicit content warning on it, that still doesn't protect you. And that's what happens to a lot of people in a lot of cases, is that they put their content warning on, and they'd put something that they'd find in any other type of comic where it'd be like blood, a little bit of gore, maybe like very light gore or something, and they could still get taken off from it. So it is a bit of a gamble when you're going onto it, but if you do make it big, then if that's the risk you're willing to take, then go ahead, by all means do it if you're 100% safe content creator. But I don't think when it comes to the idea of experimentation and pushing what you can do with the comic, and you don't ever want to feel like you're questioning your own art when you're placing it somewhere, when if you were to put this anywhere else, it wouldn't be considered that bad. But Webtoon is amazing when it comes to censorship. So, and amazing, I mean that they are really good at just removing a lot of things.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. So if I had to like wrap this up a little bit, or kind of put like a little nice bow on it, I looked at the guidelines for like some other comic websites, because you could be asking the questions like, oh well, what happens about what if that's like a standard guideline things, because legally you have to put guidelines in your website or not in order to protect it, and that could be a thing that an argument. But I looked at the Tapastic, their guidelines were a lot more direct in what you can and cannot do. They went into detail about, if you're going to make explicit content, you're going to be removed from the App Store, the app, but you will still be put it on the website, because they believe that creation shouldn't really have very strict boundaries. You should be artistic in what you want, whether if it's sexual, mature, or anything like that. You should be able to create and do what you want. But they have to abide by other guidelines as well.
And I think that's a very like intelligent way of going about it, especially like what they're doing, like in the sense that like, what do most young kids under the age of 12 usually use to access that kind of stuff? They usually have their little tablet or their phone or whatever. And most of the time, generally, these kids aren't gonna fucking like use like a computer or something like that, or a PC. And I think that's kind of what helps mitigate it a bit.
Well, that, and legally speaking, Tapastic or any app on the web store has to follow the guidelines of what vendors can sell on a web store. So the web store might say, yeah, no explicit content, and Tapas goes, well, we have to abide by the rules, but we want to be as creatively freedomly given, or like devout to being a freedom-based website where you can create, you could pretty much push the limits when it comes to your artistic value. And as a creator or as an artist, it's good to know what you can and cannot do, because if you go into the mindset of something of what you can and cannot do, you have a better mindset of how to bring things to the drawing board, and not be like, is my hundreds of hours being put into drawing something going to be put to waste because I can't put it on a certain website where I'm directing people to go. I'm putting hours and hours to direct people into the specific website. Why should I have the obscurity and ambiguity of putting it on that website when all they have to say is, this is what you can do, this is what you can't do, and take it for what you will. Don't go crazy with it. Don't support terrorists or any of that.
Understandable.
Yeah, understandable.
Makes a comic about ISIS.
Yeah, exactly. Like, don't do that.
That's a pretty obvious stuff,
And the Tapastic, guidelines, you could go read them, but they're a lot more in-depth, a lot more clear than Webtoons. And, just, I think being booted off the Webtoon portion is what kind of brought our attention to this whole guideline thing, and how, it's very suffocating to be on a platform that only directs you into doing one specific genre. And that's pretty much the situation at hand. So moving forward with our project and current idea of what to do with the story, it would probably, I don't know, what would you say? We would probably take a little bit of a break and then reboot it on like a different platform or something, or multiple platforms instead of just one. And that would probably be some advice for all of you out there: is don't just put your reliance in one platform, and don't make deals with one platform until you know you're safe.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think we kind of learned that lesson the hard way. But I mean,
But yeah.
It's all a learning process. I mean, we're like already like what, chapter 8 in?
Oh yeah. It's been a few months, so it's been quite a while. But
yeah. And for anyone who's watching, once we do get this comic uploaded, we'll be sure to notify you guys, and we'll be keeping updates. We'll be having updates on this channel or my other channel, the Real Lord Baltzar or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And just because this is like a constant ongoing thing. So if anybody's interested, just check out the channel and keep you updated on the process of us making it.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So, yeah. So thanks for watching. If you guys want to go check it out, we'll probably be putting it on some other website in the meantime. But for now, we have just been tanked off all of Webtoon, and we'll be getting it back up very, very shortly. But yeah, if you want to stay tuned with our process, we're probably going to put more things up here on this channel and on my friend's channel, the Real Lord Baltazar. We'll probably be putting updates and maybe some time lapses and stuff, and just drawing content in general, or stuff that aligns with the comic. We'll be putting it on these channels. So if you guys want to stay tuned with that, please like, comment, and subscribe, and just give us a comment or two about what you'd like to see or like to know about the process, because we've been doing it for a whole year and a half now, and there's a lot of learning that goes into it. So let us know if you want to hear about that. So with that, we'll see you guys next time.